Hey, welcome. Nice to see you, Mick Pizza. And Dev to Sunny. Nice to see you. Welcome. So, I am absolutely. Oh, thank you, Matt. That's really nice. I am absolutely going to see if I can get quite a lot of stuff in. So, first, I think this is going to be a super simple one. Sign myself. Basically, in Nuxt 2, you could access. You could access a global helper, $Nuxt, and you could access the instance on the window. I think what would be quite useful to be able to do in Nuxt 3 is to do the same kind of thing through a use Nuxt app function. Now, if you haven't come across it, it is actually possible to do this at the moment through this. You can actually access Nuxt app like this. It is available on the window. It's just not very obvious how to get it. So we can expose this, and I think it should be pretty straightforward to do. Thanks. So this is the plan. Let's open Nuxt. And honestly, I think this should be super fast. And then we can get to another feature. And I think some Nitro static presets. That should be pretty fun too. Okay, so at the moment we have got use Nuxt app already. And probably if we were going to do this again from scratch, we would call it get Nuxt app or something like that. And anyway, but we don't have that luxury on this occasion. But in this particular case, we can actually access it like this. The function is the same, we just need to make it available on the window object. So we can basically do that when we create the Nuxt app context. So here we go. We have our entry. And the entry file is basically split into two parts. It has the client and the server bit of it. But they each have this create Nuxt app helper, which they call, which is the thing that establishes Nuxt app and sort of makes the singleton, which then gets used within Nuxt. Hey, Chris, nice to see you. Hey, Reaper. Pleasure. Okay, so I think this is where it makes sense to do this here. We already register some things page-wide, and we can simply do this. Window.use Nuxt app equals use Nuxt app. And we can also make this globally available. This is accessible, I think. It's already imported. And we can just declare the types. So we will augment it here like this. Type of use Nuxt app. Boom. And I think that might genuinely be all we need to do. I'm not even sure this doesn't change anything for people because this function was auto-imported, was always usable for people on the client side, no matter what they called it. So it doesn't actually change practice at all. Hey, welcome. Let's just, I think it's going to change our bundle size though, because now we're importing use Nuxt app, and I'm not sure. It's possible that wasn't used by default. So let's just confirm that. Vtest run bundle. And this is why we keep track of that with this test. Florian, nice to see you. It is a good day. It doesn't actually impact the bundle size, and that's probably because it was already available on the window, which makes it even more of an attractive thing to do. So expose use Nuxt app to window for convenience. Done. Oops. Hey, Fenling. Nice to see you. Oops. Commit to main. I don't think so. Feet use window Nuxt. Great. Done. And push. And open PR. Oops. Oh, and we had our issue? Yep. Hey, Sylvan, right? This has access to the Nuxt app on slide through global. Use Nuxt app, which doesn't rely on author imports. That is, I thought so. I just checking. Let's see, enhancement P2, and there we go. I'll get Puya to have a look, and seems pretty simple. Let's hope our tests pass. Hey, Mehmet. Okay, what's next? Ha! So, let's have a look. We have some issues. What are we going to do? How about... How about the SPL loading placeholder? Because I think this is pretty straightforward. I am well is the answer. I am sorted. I've got my water, I've got my tea, and we're releasing 3.6 like really soon, like tomorrow. So it's I feel like I'm a little bit on the edge. Is it Turkish tea? Unfortunately, it's English breakfast tea, so I don't know how similar that is to Turkish tea. Florian, link them here. We'll have a look. And I'll either tell you why they're not merged, or we'll merge them. So how about that? Okay, so we can basically set up the, let's assign myself to this. A loading indicator, I think we can support the same kind of thing. Previously, we used SpinKit. I wonder how up to date this is. 2020. Ah, yes. Did you see that one? Haha. We'll wait for 3.6 release before fully speccing that out. Hey, welcome. Nuxt. So, I wonder if there are other spinner alternatives. Like this is quite old. Like this is 4 years old. That's but for the last update. That's quite some time ago. So and actually, I'm assuming the license is good. MIT. That's okay. Let's just see. I was also wondering about maybe icons. Spinners, SVG spinners. I wonder how those compare to these spinners. The only issue I have, these are all great, they're beautiful, but I'm just a little bit worried that they're not going to be updated. Whereas these are, at the very least, up to date, right? Okay, let's have a look at those PRs. Ah, my own PRs. Yes, well, I haven't obviously forgotten about my own PRs. What's Spotlight? Are you talking about this? Or are you talking about when I switch windows, like this? Hey, nice to see you. This one, this is Raycast. So Raycast is amazing. So this is my command space, and yes, Raycast is amazing. Highly recommend it. It is great. So you'll like it. If you're on macOS, you'll like it. It's I would not go back absolutely at all. I'm skipping frames. It's because I have such a light-hearted spirit. Okay. The reason, by the way, these aren't merged is that as much as what we want to do here is to support this in the manifest step, rather than like at build time, rather than having a runtime function, if possible. If there's a need for a runtime function, we'll support that as an escape hash. But the first thing that we need to do is implement this at build time, which is actually something we could look at today as well. Hey, Joaquin, hello. And here, this is absolutely on my list. So it is something we might actually build today, but in a slightly different way. What we need to do first is build a manifest, and it's going for different root rules, which is going to nail quite a few different things within Nuxt. But first, let's see if we can add some SVG spinners. These are all nice. And they are super, super minimal. Like, look at that. Like, we're talking about kilobytes here. These a bit more. Okay, so what did we do with Nuxt 2? With Nuxt 2, we configured it with a name, color, and background. And obviously we want to allow people to do their own. Yeah, makes sense. So, well, the aim is just to allow people to pick and then to customize it themselves if they want to. So do I think it's likely that this will be fixed? Well, the good news for this is that it will likely be fixed in if not in 3.6, it will be fixed in a patch release. So there's nothing, like it's not like you have to wait for another month. As soon as it's fixed, it will be merged and released. So you won't wait more than a week for it as soon as it's done. So I see you don't want to hijack the stream. That's just tantalizing. You can ask. I'm going to try and still achieve various things. But this is super important, and Anthony and I are talking about it just this morning. So it is, it's totally current. We just want a solution that isn't going to... Anthony's solution is right. This is the right thing to do. But there is a regression that we do need to cover, or it will break people in other ways, which is no fun. You solve one problem and you break something else. And any breakage in this area or change in behavior is problematic. I know you know that, but it's a pain. Okay, so let's see. Where were we? We were going to handle the spinners. And I guess the first thing, whatever we pick in terms of SVG spinners or whatever, oh goodness me, thank you. It's not just going to be one spinner. We're definitely going to want more than one. I think that is a beautiful spinner though. Maybe it could be the default. I mean, I'm saying beautiful because I mean it's simple. I don't actually know what it looks like. Let's have a look. Okay. So if we open our app, how do we implement a spinner? I guess is the first step. So of any kind. And Oh, I think that will be relatively straightforward to solve when you do, in fact, create the issue. Quick install. And let's just pop this in the HTML and pop this. Wait a second. Oh, this is all style. Okay. And this is what loader. I just want to see what it looks like. Okay, it's working. So it's about type support, maybe. Okay, yeah, no, beautiful, beautiful little spinner. How would we do this in Nuxt 2 today? So we would do it with a Nitro plugin, as in that's how you could do it with a Nitro plugin. But if I were to copy this and open the Nitro renderer, we render an empty, oh, it's not called that, it's called this. This is our server rendered tag. So we render some HTML in a root tag. And we also have an SPA renderer, which is this, which has nothing inside it. So I think we could very easily say SPA template, we're going to put inside there. And we could very easily define that SPA template here. So const SPA template is, and we could just put loader. We could also put some styles. So we grabbed these styles here and we could pop them in. So if we put that there, okay, so we now have our template. And we can get rid of this. We could say something else. And we're going to make this an SPA app. So if we say SSR false, what we should see is, what we should see is for an infinitesimal moment, we should see that there is like a loading screen and then the app starts, right? So that happens. And in fact, we could make that last longer if we were to do something like block some JavaScript. So if we were to block all JS, we'll do that with this. No, not that. Where is it? Where is it? Filter? No. No, not that. None of that. Where's the block? Blocked request. No. Come on. We're not getting anything here. It must be filtered in some way. This is odd, isn't it? Oh, I turned off recording. Okay, so block request URL. Oh, thank you, goodness, all this love going on. So if we reload it, it should break our page. Okay, and we're now getting our permanent reload. So that's working fine. Okay, so this implementation in terms of the renderer is working perfectly. Okay, so our SPA template is something we can probably inject as a virtual import. So at the moment we have the Nuxt config here. And what we can do is .mjs. So what we can do when we inject that, there's so much thing here. Thank you guys. There's so much that we can do in terms of injecting the Nuxt config. So we currently have a this build Nuxt config .mjs file, which we inject. Here it is. Took me a while to spot it. Which has a number of things that we want to pass from our configuration to runtime. And in this particular case, we could do something like this: export const SPA template, and basically inject it. Although we only need it for our renderer, so probably we want to add it as a separate template only within Nitro. So we would want to do something like this: build SPA template.mjs, and it's basically going to export a string. So if we moved this whole thing out, sorry for the step-by-step, but if we move this whole thing out like this and popped it here, and we now have build SPA template. We could even just make this SPA template because it's not actually located in the build directory. It's purely virtual. So we could do something like await import SPA template, ds_ignore virtual file, then r.r default, and we could make this, it needs to be an actual JavaScript file. Yeah, I know. I don't know why, actually. I don't think he wants to... I don't think it's that he wants to come in, but I don't know exactly what it is. There we go. So now we have a string being exported. Let's see if that works, right? This is just all about iterative improvement. We might need to transpile it. Might be one or two issues. Does it work? Yeah, still seems to work. Okay, so at the moment we have got our sort of renderer just importing a virtual file, and we can catch and just return like an empty string for our current behavior. And what we can do here is we can ignore the playground changes. What we need to be able to do is a way of selecting and generating this code within Nuxt, within Nitro in this particular case. So we can easily do it in exactly the same way as happened in Nuxt config previously, which is that I guess we could have a loading indicator which points to a string or false or object, and this was very tightly sort of tied in with SpinKit. What about what do you think makes sense? Like a path to an HTML file that you have in your own project? It doesn't feel like we have to make this like configurable with an object syntax. What about something like this? So we have a schema, and we have maybe a loading indicator. Do we still have it? That's different. Something like extends root to workspace to debug. Do something like head. Okay, this feels like this might be related. We could do something like this. A path to a HTML file with the contents of which will be inserted into the any HTML page rendered with SSR false. And we'll do something like loading indicator, which was that what we had it before? Loading indicator? That might be confusing because we now have a Nuxt loading indicator path, like actual component, but something like loader. How about SPA loading template? And that should be a string, and it should basically, I think by default, it should be oh, I don't think we need to set default. It should basically be like app loading.html or something like that. So we're going to give it a resolve, and this is an async function that we use when we define the schema options here. Ah, Sebastian, I am glad to see you. Well, feel free to pipe in with some alternative suggestions. Nate, hello, nice to see you. Goodness. Lots of nice people here. So basically what we want to do is resolve it. So path is going to be resolve get root dir source dir probably. We have app router options, which we resolve in relation to the source directory. So we'll do that. Source dir val or app SPA loading template.html. This browser is Arc, and if you would like, you can have an invite to it. Not that it is extremely difficult to get one, but you are welcome to have it. Okay, so we can resolve the path in relation to the source directory, app SPA loading template.html, and then I think we want it actually to be inlined in the HTML. So it'd be something like contents equals, well, this is interesting. No, probably it makes sense simply to resolve it. So we just want the path, and we can actually read it into being in the Nitro config. Okay, so I think that seems straightforward. Oh, we have to await this. That seems like it would work. Okay, SPA loading template. We're going to rebuild the schema, which is going to give us, comma, which is going to give us types for this. And then let's pop back to Nitro, the Nitro config here. Oh yes, we've got. So basically at this point, this is actually a function which is going to be called. So we can have this read into memory at the time. So we could do like this, read file sync, Nuxt options, what was that? SPA loading template. What's going on? Was there a problem stubbing it? TS restart. So we're going to read into effect, and we're actually going to, we'll make this FS promises, and we're going to catch and return an empty string. And it's going to be export defaults JSON stringify that. Okay, I think that should work. So basically, if I restart, there should now be no loading indicator. So, oh, it's giving us something. What's the matter here? Oh, I have to await it, right? Oh, that's why it has to be read file sync. Let's see. And we're going to need to have more than an arrow function. That's always a pain, isn't it? I like arrow functions. Okay, so try catch return export defaults, and up here we're going to return that. Seems fine with me. Let's try it again. And can it convert object? Oh, UTF-8, please. What have I done? What have I done? This should be returning a string. What is the contents of this? It should be nothing, right? Like, there is nothing there. I've just picked a new location. There should not be anything here. SPA loading template. Okay. So why are we, oh, it's, I thought we were already defaulting it, but there seems to be an issue. Why is it double defaulted? Let's just try template. And let's see that works. Okay, that's right. We have a deliberate error, which is why the page isn't loading. Now let's try creating one. So we have a little app, what was it, SPA loading template HTML, and we can paste in that beautiful little spinner, and we basically need, oops, let's style, and we want a div. Class equals loader, and let's see if that works. Oh, it will be cached, the actual file. It won't have HMR. This is a quick little thing, I think. I was hoping it would be quick. Yeah, okay, it's working fine. This is a quick little thing where we implement an SPA loading template feature. So it works. It doesn't have any HMR. Do people feel it should have HMR? Like, I feel like maybe. But I think it might be good enough to, I don't know, what do people think? Okay, so we basically have a, we should check out main, feed SPA loading template. And basically we now have a, yeah, that's a good point. We should enable one by default. So here we have our template being read in, and we should have a default one because at the moment it's resolving it based on the users directory, whereas probably we can ship one with Nuxt at least. So we can have here, what is this? Ooh, it's beautiful. Yes, please. You need to come to all my streams and provide me sort of things like this. This is great. Okay, so what we can do here with Nuxt, I think we should ship it with Nuxt. The question is if we shipped it with, I think we can ship it with Nuxt. Let's see. So we would basically stick this in our runtime path. We'll call it SPA loading indicator HTML. And we may revisit this. Like, it may be worth shipping this with our UI templates package, which is a separate thing. So we have some CSS. So style, there we go. That's really short. We have an SVG, and that's it. That is super minimal. Okay. Yeah. We're a team, people. We're a team. A gradient would be nice, wouldn't it? Some kind of color. Color? There's actually a color. Beautiful. So set stroke. Oh no, you can do that in the CSS. Yeah. Okay, so we've got an SPA loading indicator. We can now, can we resolve this? So I think basically what we want to do is, this is tricky. Okay, I think basically what we want is, instead of doing what I did, which was, so in our schema, just going to do a quick tweak. So in our loading indicator, we're resolving this, but actually I don't think we want to. So I think basically if we have a value, we're going to resolve it in relation to the source directory. Otherwise, we're going to return null. If one is not provided, then, oh no, this is interesting because it would be difficult for somebody to have empty. I think that's the thing. But maybe we could say type string or false. So if someone sets it to false, you can set this to false to disable any loading indicator. So if you provide it, it will be resolved to a string. Otherwise, it will be null. And then actually within Nitro here, like within Nuxt, if this doesn't exist, we can set it to a better path. So const SPA loading template path is okay. So what we would like is so if I think basically we could just directly return this. So we could say like this. Okay. And you're right, we probably could fall back. We need to add a fallback. But up here, what we're going to do is or resolve, has already been imported, Nuxt options, source directory. Okay, so we can resolve that. If not exists sync SPA loading template path, then equals resolve runtime dir and SPA loading indicator.html. If okay. Great, so that should give us a fallback, and it should, okay, if it doesn't exist, you think we should warn? Probably it makes sense to warn. Okay, we could try that. So Nuxt could not load custom let's actually show the for path so users will know what is being loaded, and we'll need to wrap this whole thing in that. Okay, I think that makes sense. Then we fall back, and then we have this. So what happens? We run our dev. And I think we have a version ourselves. No? Okay, we have our loader. It's not being injected for some reason. Oh, I don't think we're respecting this. Okay, SPA loading template path. Just to confirm. Yeah. Let's try that again. Okay, that's the one we picked ourselves. Let's change it. I mean, get rid of it. Again, we might have to figure out that HMR with the Nitro virtual file. But if we refresh now, we weren't ready. If we refresh now, no. Let's just figure out what's going on here. Well, I think you should see that I'm not particularly doing a great job of this here. Okay, what's going on? That's clearly not the right path. Oh, I think I need to stop it. Or maybe the runtime path is pointing to the wrong one. I need it to be core runtime Nitro, I think. Dist, yeah. Let's try this again. You were all very nice, but I don't buy it. Right, let's see. Are we finished? Refresh. Okay, it's working. So we are falling back to the native one that we provide. It's rather beautiful. It probably does need to be centered, I would think. So we probably need to just have a very, very quick look at the HTML for this. And we probably want to do, what will we do? Fixed? Absolute, like fixed? What do you think? Fixed. Yes, how to center a div. We are going into this on the stream and we will let people know what we think. Yeah, that's reasonable. So that's the, yeah. We need a wrap. Do we really need a wrapper, people? We can have a wrapper, but I feel like we should just be able to directly apply it to the SVG, right? The snippet you sent already does this. Well, that is a very strong argument for it. Okay, position fixed, top, left, transform. Yes, we can do that. Okay. Okay, let's try that. Oh. Oh, because it's not what's going on here? Is it because we're applying this to the SVG and we need to have this applied. Oh wait, is logo not the SVG? Yes, you're right. Interesting. I think at this point we can basically do this. And we will apply the rest of them to, I think logo is also too generic. We'll say logo path, and we can move this. I think that's right, isn't it? Is that going to work? Okay, so it's doing it. Okay, so that's basically what we want. I think we should not make it logo, but I think that is a little bit too generic. We can say loading indicator, SPA loading maybe, or maybe Nuxt SPA loading, something like that. People can customize it themselves, and I feel like, well, the problem is it's not scoped. So anything that is here will leak. And the issue is if we, I want to avoid any leakage. Like this shouldn't affect anybody else's styles. Because once this is 2S for SPP, for speed. Okay. That is super fast. I think maybe in between 3 seconds. Ooh, nice idea. Yeah, we could do that. But don't we need to put this in a defs, right? My native SVG authoring is a bit limited, but I think it needs to be in defs, right? All right. Oh, but we want to apply this to the SVG itself. Can we apply this to the SVG itself this way? I feel like it might not work, but let's just see. People aren't responding quickly enough for me. I need answers. Yeah, that's not going to work. Is it the defs? Is that the problem? If I move this out, does it work? No. I think we just can't refer to the container. I think, but you're right. Like we could inline it. It could be part of the we could just put it on in a style on the div. Anyway, I think this is okay for now. Okay, so we've improved that. We are pulling this in. We're falling back. And we are resolving it or allowing users to turn it off entirely. Okay, let's just confirm that that works too. So if I were to say SPA loading template false, that should now not display it. Again, the cache. No, not the cache. Not. The logic isn't right. Okay, so why is the logic not right? The logic is that should remain because unless we're doing something to it here. Oh, yeah, that's the problem. Type of val equals string, I think might be what we really want. because if it's null, we want to respect that. If it is false, we want to respect that. So we only want to resolve it if it's a string. It's still not working though. Okay, what are we doing in Nitro? Ugh, come on. I want to see what that is. It should be coming through as false. It's null. Why is it coming through as null? I've set it to false. Here, there we go. I very specifically sent back null. And there's no one to blame but me here. Okay, and now we refresh the page and there's no loading indicator. Great. And we turn that off, and now there should be, as long as, yep, it's actually working straight away. Great. Okay, this is all good. We just need to remove a console log, and we are good to go. At this first version of it, I guess the idea of having multiple templates that you can easily just pick between is a nice one. Although I really think this should be quite a like. Anyway, myself, if I'm adding a loader, I probably want to customize it and copy it myself from icons or whatever, rather than picking just from a list of 12 that are hard-coded. So, great. So, feat Nuxt add default SPA loading indicator, or just allow configuring. SPA loading indicator. Yes, I totally agree. That's a very good point. And I think it's the perfect solution. There might also be something in this to, I don't know, minify it or something like that. We could say some good sources are spin kit, which is still good, right? These things don't expire. Or loading states. Sorry, what's your question? Thank you, Sebastian. See you later. Oh, I'm going to add you as a reviewer, though. You've got to review it. This allows users to configure their SPA loading HTML by pointing to app. By default, it also injects Nuxt animated Nuxt logo for the loading state, which can be disabled by setting SPA loading in your Nuxt config. Done. Okay. When I open my Raycaster, switch the window. This blue background, it's the focus state of the the window. I think if that's what you're... A blue background. Look at that. I don't see it, but yeah, it's probably Arc doing its thing. Oh, this. Yes. Okay, this, by the way, is not Raycast or a separate thing. This is pressing Command T with an Arc browser. And it gives me an option of like the tabs, but it also has a few other things as well, like preferences or settings. That's what you're seeing. Okay, so now what should we do? Static presets for Nitro, or we could do like a build manifest, an app manifest, and that's related to things like runtime rules, knowing when a deployment has changed, that kind of thing. Its option is up to you. My MacBook is a faithful friend. It does. I ask a lot of it, but it does good things. Manifest. Okay. So, already a review approval. Now that is extremely quick. Okay, yeah, that's a reasonable thing. We can do that. Is it really slow for you? Is this not... I don't think the user can set sort of select pre-existing. Oh, sure. The activity monitor, here you go. You want to see the memory. It's not bad. Okay, great. So we've got another approval. Great. Okay, so we have our new PR, and let's do this manifest thing in that case. It will be a couple of things. Oh, Flo, you've already created the issue. Amazing. Manifest. So at manifest, here we go. So basically, we want to generate some stuff that might be relevant to the build. It can contain things like a snapshot somehow, maybe something that is an ID that's unique to the build, so you can check if the build has changed. And it might have a couple of other things, maybe some root rules and pages that have been pre-rendered that aren't covered by the root rules that we've previously created. And so the whole point of this app manifest is to do things like, so for example, in Nuxt at the moment, you can do this. So in the playground, you could have a root rule, which says something like, if you access login, I want you to redirect to login, new login, right? So if you do this, and if we hit that endpoint, it's going to redirect us, right? So we're getting our redirect. Now that's happening in the server. So this is completely disconnected from what happens in your app on the client side. So if I have a link to login, it's not going to do anything. It's not going to affect the View app. It's just going to affect the server. But this is an example of a root rule which is really universal and we could respect on both sides if only we had a way of knowing what the root rule was at runtime. So that's something we can actually do with a manifest. So basically, we can have a way of rendering a build manifest. Let's see if we can. There are a couple of different ways of doing it, so I'm just going to play around a little bit here. So if let's see what happens if I create a roots nuxt builds latest meta.json, something like this. And I basically return JSON stringify. I could probably actually just directly return something like hash. Okay, so let's try this, and we're going to add this to our Nitro pre-render. Roots is going to be Nuxt builds latest meta.json. Okay, let's try it. Right. What do you mean by that? Okay, so we have done this. We've generated like a asset through Nitro. So probably what we want to do, we can basically create an endpoint within our app, which is here. And basically we can add that to our pre-render config when we're building our app. I think might be a way of doing this for us. Okay, so we basically could do something like this. This might not be the way to do it, but anyway, let's see. Roots, we're going to add this. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so we can basically create, we want that to be there. We also probably want to, is that actually right? What we want is, let me just think aloud here a little bit. So what we want is, we want a hash per build. We want to have probably a structure which looks something like this. So we want that, but we also want to have some sort of hash, some other hash, right? So you can actually access the specific builds metadata if there has been a newer update. And that specific hash probably will have different information. So we can add more info there and less info there. Or we could make this simpler. We could just call it latest.json and then maybe a sort of meta.hash.json. That might make sense. I think we probably don't need. Yeah, that's simple, right? And so basically what we would need then to be able to do, like within, steps, we need to add a Nitro event handler to render these, or render separately. But they should be accessible within the Nuxt app, so we need to be able to fetch them within Nuxt and apply them. So view router applies redirects. We also need to apply them to payload fetching, for example. Well, this at the moment is, I'm just thinking aloud about implementing an app manifest for Nuxt that includes things like Nitro root rules. So you want to have like govern payload fetching. So if we have a sort of pre-rendered true, then that means that we know that the page was pre-rendered and there is, or it might be pre-rendered, and hey, thank you, that's really kind. We know the page was pre-rendered, and we might be able to do something like fetch the payload. Whereas at the moment, if you partly pre-render your site, but not all of it, we still fetch payloads for all of it, which is problematic. Okay, so we render them in build step. We probably need to be able to get the root rules from Nitro. So so Nitro has to be able to expose them to us, and filter them. Because we don't want to include all the root rules. There are a lot of Nitro root rules, like cache rules, which are irrelevant to the front end. And someone might add their own custom root rules. We don't want to just sort of expose all of that. And whatever we put here is exposed to the client side. So I think we have to be very careful about that. Isn't it interesting? This is just suddenly all gone italics, and I have no idea why. Right. So, thank you, Rodrigo. Okay, so basically, we probably will have a structure that includes maybe, okay, what might be in it? Let's add, now it might be that Nitro renders this for us, but I think it probably makes sense for us to render it because we're the one consuming it. But what we need from Nitro is Nitro has to be able to give us a utility to provide the root rules. I will want to, I'll do an implementation here, but we'll probably need to sort of sync up. Puya and I will need to sync up to confirm. Okay, so let's say we are going to have to add a handler, therefore, for this. So our server handlers should be here. Cool. Okay, we will want to have server handlers. We're going to push one, which is going to handle this manifest. We're going to push something to our pre-render roots. So I think let's extract it and do that a little bit down here. Okay, so add sort of app manifest handler and pre-render config. So we're going to want to say nitro config.prerender.roots push and what did we think we probably wanted to call it? Builds latest. And we also need this hash ID, I think. Which I think we're going to need to give to Nitro, and Nitro might use and consume elsewhere. So we'll do something like build ID is random UUID, and we will add that as well. So we'll, what was our thought for that? Meta.hash. Okay. Great. We also need to add our handler. And here we're going to have a handler is going to be, I mean, we could hard code a dev handler as well. So if Nuxt options dev, we can directly inline define that. And then the root for the this is probably going to be build assets directory. So say Nuxt options build assets. Duh. This needs to be now. Okay, so we might actually just want to join URL just to confirm that all of our bits and pieces are working. Okay, and do the same here. And then again. We might actually just simplify this slightly to be manifest prefix is that, and then we just pop it in there. There. Okay, it makes it a little bit clearer. And then, okay, so we have this, and it's going to return empty. And we're just going to drop that off, restart our playground, and just hit it. I'm only a little bit worried it might not work because of, no, it's working fine, because of Vite also has the same prefix. Okay, so we can have a sort of basic dev build ID, which we can define there in a second. But then we also need to have like a runtime handler, which is going to handle our manifest. And this is going to do this. We have an event handler, and we are going to need to return what was the format we had. So root rules, okay, various stuff. And we're going to need to expose our build ID. So we're going to call it app manifest or something like that. We're going to want to return it. So we might have, let's see, we'll have some root rules, which I guess is an object. We'll have a pre-rendered array of pages. We might want to have a hash, which can be this hash ID. We might want to have the time, like the build time. We might also want to have, I don't know what else we might want to have. Something like that. Timestamp feels a little bit better. ID feels a bit better. And we can basically ignore this. Oops, expect error. Virtual file. Okay, so we now have to inject that particular file. So what we would do is Nitro config virtual app manifest equals export, what are they? Export const equals JSON stringify. This one is going to be the build ID. And this one is going to be a timestamp. Exactly. So I have not mentioned all the use cases for it, but there are quite a few, and that is why we have an ID here. Because at the moment we do handle loading errors, but what if everything is loaded fine and all the chunks are present in your app, but you have a new version of an app? So this would enable like a service worker or something to be able to poll or hit an endpoint and know when it had updated, because it still has a file there, but now the contents of the file have changed, that hash is updated. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so we could do something like, just for now, just that. Okay, so basically we have got a virtual file here, and we're going to want to, again, we have our path. We might need to, I think that should be fine. Okay, and we have our path, which is going to be this root as well. And our handler is going to need to be this file that we created, which is this. And it's not going to be no SSR, it's going to be called, where did I stick it? Manifest. Okay. So, in fact, we could, like for the moment, to test it, apply this in dev as well and just disable the dev handler. So if we were to do that, restart our server. People finding this interesting, it's not too boring for you. Let's just see what comes back. Great. So this is everything that we're expecting. Our timestamp is being passed through. We have our ID, we have our pre-rendered array, and any root rules that we want to apply. So let's see. We need to be able to get those root rules here, and we probably want to filter them out. So there is actually a get root rules utility here, and we can actually get them for const rules. I'm not sure this is actually going to be what we want. I think we need to import from imports. Well, technically this is internal Nitro, but let's just return those rules and see what they are. Because I'm not sure if this is just this particular path. I think it might be this particular path, but let's see. Playground, yeah, we have some root rules and they're not coming in here. What we want is to be able to get access to this. No, that's going to pull us just the root rules for a particular path. What we really want is this. But we want it for like the whole path. Like we actually want access to, to this thing, config Nitro root rules. So maybe that's what we want. Okay. This is going to be subject to some hard refactoring when we come to it. Okay. So Nitro root rules. Oops, I vanished. The camera has decided it is too warm today because the sun is shining on it. I feel like that the sun shining on a camera is something it should be able to cope with, don't you think? Like, yeah, the sun is too hot. Goodness me, is this English sun? Nobody believes me. I mean, people are thinking I'm making this thing up, but I am not. It is totally the case that English sun is extremely hot and unexpectedly so. Okay, well, our root rules are coming through. So these are our resolved root rules. And we're likely going to want to normalize them a little bit because like the status code is not relevant for the client. Just the fact that there's a redirect is all we really care about there. And there are some others too. So we can actually normalize them at this point. So we could do, let's see. Actually, they're coming in there. So we would want to do something like this, or maybe we pull them in and then we assign them to a new path. Like we manually assign them. So const root rules is as, forgive it, and we're going to say for const key in root rules. If key equals, we're going to want to ignore Nuxt error. It's not relevant to the client side. Continue. We're also going to want to ignore certain rules. So const filtered rules equals root rules key object values entries, I think. Root rules key filter key value. And then we're going to want to be very specific about the key that we want. And we're going to say we are only interested right now in redirect. Let's just add another to the playground so we have a good example. Oh, we're interested in pre-render. We'll say pre-render true, but we're also say admin is going to be SSR false, and we're not interested in that. So all of those we are interested in pre-render and redirect. So that should give us a list of if filtered rules.length is greater than 0, then root rules a normalized one key equals object from entries filtered rules. Okay, that should mean that we now are able to pull something like, yeah, so we're ignoring the other, so we could drop pre-render, for example, and now we'll drop the root rule entirely, which is good. We also want to normalize them. So we don't care about the status code or 2. So we probably want to handle that as well. Maybe by mapping it. Okay. So map key value. If and what we want to do is if key is redirect, then return type of value equals string. Actually, it shouldn't be string. I think at this point it will always be normalized to an object. But anyway, or value dot to. And that should then give us something. Oops. Oh, we have to, sorry. There we go. Oh. Okay, so that filters it down to something that we can handle. And we also need to know the pre-rendered routes. But I'm going to take a break because I need a fresh cup of tea. And we'll resume in 5 minutes. So 5 minutes, everybody, and grab us a drink, or you're probably chilling, but I'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay. I am hopefully going to reappear on my screen in a second. Okay, right. Where were we? I think we were basically iterating through the root rules, and this event handler, like to an extent, like this is not meant to be running at runtime. This is a build time handler. We're pre-rendering the endpoint, so this is really only for generation. Having said that, it should be fine. Well, okay. So what else do we need? We need to have our pre-rendered. So again, we'll probably want to inject that here through the app manifest. And we need to, no, that's a problem, right? That is a problem because we are pre-rendering it. So I feel that's pretty circular. How are we going to get a list of pre-rendered pages? So I think what we might need to do is simply return a string. So pre-rendered, Nitro pre-rendered roots or something. Let's try that. And then replace it at the end of the build process. Let's see. So effectively what we would do here, this isn't going to work in dev, but that's fine because we're ignoring it in dev. So we would want, we have our hook. Well, what we do is this. So Nitro config, actually we would want to wait until Nitro is configured and then add a hook. So here, well, could be in lots of places, but we basically want to add a hook that tracks which pages have been generated. So something like add pages pre-rendered but not covered by root rules. So, and again, we probably want to enable this as an experimental feature at the moment until we get it sorted, or at least it enables us to configure it. So we would do something like this. So we'll add an if and we'll fill in what is going to be there in a moment. Hey, Christopher. It is a Q5 QMK. So this is the keyboard. Paste. I'll take that as a compliment though. I like it too. Okay, so basically we want to add a hook. So nitro dot hooks hook into pre-render root, and we receive our root const pre-rendered equals new set strings, and we'll basically add the path. So ooh, that sounds nice. They're really good, Keychron. I like what they do. This moment in time when you have a fresh cup of tea, this is the danger of scalding your mouth. Okay, so we want to basically pre-rendered add root, and I guess, do we have the error? Yeah, so if not root error, pre-rendered add root. And what we want to do, I think, is, do we have access to the root rules here? Like the resolved root rules. Yeah, we do. Okay. So basically here, we're going to need to do the same thing. We're going to need to get access to a root rules matcher. So and do this. And basically, oh, that's the runtime config, but I think we can do that here. And we'll basically need to okay, that's going to be our resolved object. And we are only adding the rules for the ones that don't have a pre-render. So let's just confirm. So console log like the rules. And basically we should be, let's pre-render a couple more things. So we're going to pre-render test, and we're only going to add the rule for test, and also other non-pre-rendered. Okay, so we want to just confirm that this is what is going to happen, and at the end, so let's see, console log pre-rendered. This is super fast and bad, but let's just see what it does in terms of logging. Okay, so what I want to see is what we have done. Oh, we should log the root. Okay, so we are pre-rendering a series of pages. So non-pre-rendered has nothing. And test, which has pre-rendered, does have pre-render. And rightly, that gets in, but not the other. Okay, that's excellent. So we should probably include, actually what we only want, the only thing we want to include here is the payload. So I'm not really interested in whether it's pre-rendered. I'm interested in whether there is a payload for it. So that's interesting. Okay, I'll come to that in a second, but a few things we can just do first. So basically I can pull out the pre-rendered, I think, because we're going to use this here. And we are actually going to use it here. So export const pre-rendered roots is JSON stringify pre-rendered roots. And we then can import that into our manifest and hopefully return that here. No, we can't, of course. Silly me. We have to do the replacement. Like this. Nitro options, rollup config, plugins, push, name is Nitro Nuxt, manifest replacement, transform, code ID, if ID, well, I'll simplify this performance-wise in a second, but for now, return code replace with and let's see if that works. Oh no, it won't work. We have to do a hard replacement. We want to Nitro hooks, hook compiled. No, I think we do this once we do this. Actually, we can probably do this up here in. We do actually a Nuxt hook. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little little out of it. Okay, we want this the public assets step here, and we'll have access to Nitro, and this is when we can actually make the replacement, I think. So let manifest path if const manifest equals read file where are we outputting it? We're outputting it in dist. Hey, welcome. Right. What are we doing? We are writing the file to the file path, which is the public dir and the file name. Okay, so that does actually make sense. So we can actually use this here. And we are going to use that path from above, which is this. And in this case, it's going to be what? Latest.json. And UTF-8. And let's log that manifest for us. But we're basically then going to write it back again. Let's pull out the path. And write manifest replace. Let's try that. I believe I went for brown. Okay. Not there yet. Oh yes, this is pre-build. We actually probably want to be more like Nitro pre-render. It's this point really where we want to do it. So we could probably do it after the pre-render step. So this is really where we want to pull this out. Let's try that again. Beautiful. Let's see if that is all as we expect it. Wrong place. Great. Look at that. Oh, we only replaced it there. We probably need to replace it there as well. Oh, that's good. Okay. And we actually need to update our config because that should not be there. And well, basically the concept is if you have a, so one gets you the information for the specific build that you are looking for. So maybe you want to find the information about your current build even after there's been a redeploy. Obviously that wouldn't work with a Vercel and Netlify because there won't be, but we might in the future have the ability to do that. So it lets you basically fetch details for a specific build. Ugh. We probably want to exempt Nuxt builds. And we probably want to only render one and copy it across maybe. So something like we actually only really want, no, I think this is fine. Okay. 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 So we are pre-rendering this. In here, we probably only want to do this for latest, and then we want to copy this. We do probably want to expose this to Nitro. And then this is our dev handler, which we probably can fill out a little bit more with some default values. So we want ID timestamp, root rules, and pre-rendered. And basically, that's what it should have. timestamp is date now, and ID is dev, something like that. So that will cover it in dev mode. And at runtime, we have our separate handler which covers it there. And then here at build time, we count the pre-rendered paths. Which we can probably do only here. I'm trying to think what makes sense to do at this point. Like how to get it across. I guess the point about exposing it to Nitro means this probably will be up here in the config somewhere. So I think we can safely access this down here. Okay, so I think that will probably do what we specified in terms of rendering them, getting them, filtering them, and those particular paths. But what we now need to do is actually handle applying them within Nuxt itself. So let's just confirm. So we have our server, and we can actually hit this endpoint and grab the root. Excellent. So we're pulling that in. Okay. So next step is to do something in ViewRouter, right? And payload fetching is more important, actually. Okay, so in payload, what we're interested... Oh, yeah, we also have to... Let me just add a quick to-do item, which is that we actually care about whether a payload was generated, not whether it was pre-rendered. To-do track whether payload is generated, not whether page is pre-rendered. Because actually we don't want to pick up... We actually shouldn't need to track whether Nuxt builds is produced or not, because what we're really interested in is the payload .js file or .json file which has been generated. So yeah, that's what we want. We want to track these things. So that's actually a little bit simpler in a way. So say if root .root ends with and we basically want to check Nuxt options experimental render JSON payload. There we go. Then we're going to add the pre-rendered roots. Yeah, we're not going to do anything unless this is the case. So URL is going to be root replace. Oh, for goodness sake. Let's see, const suffix is payload suffix. And we're going to say if it ends with the payload suffix, then we're going to replace new regexp. Oh no, we can just slice it, right? Length. And let me just confirm that works, right? Aha, yes, it returns the thing. Yeah. Okay, so then we are going to get the rules for the URL and reverse them. And then, okay, and then here, this is this. So okay, let's see what that does for us. Empty, which is right actually, because there are no payloads generated. But if we generate it, there should then be some. So we had test, and we had other non. Where is it? Perfect. That's really good. Oh, but it shouldn't be adding the payloads themselves. It should be adding the root that they are for. So we add the URL here. And that's actually really good. That is the behavior I wanted. Excellent. Okay. So that with this information, we can now actually do something useful with regard to fetching those payloads. To confirm again. Oh, underscore. Haha. Oh. I think we can do that as well. What we want is the, well, actually, I think we could do this instead. A bit simpler. We do have to keep it at least. Great. I think that should be fine. So Nuxt generate, like, I guess, does this need to be under a feature flag? I previously thought it might need to be, so we'll have to look at that in a second. Oh. Okay. Right. So in this case, we should be able now to, okay, generate a build manifest. Oops. That should be everything but the playground. Okay, so now we've generated it. So we have in our payload utils, we have a couple of things that we do. And basically we have this import payload is pre-rendered, and we currently do this based on whether the current page was pre-rendered. But actually this is used in the app to decide whether or not we fetch payloads. So if it's not pre-rendered, we completely ignore the payload plugin here, but actually what we want to do is support other environments. So in this particular case, I think we can leave the to do for dev, but we can actually support the other behaviors. So what we probably want to do here is this. Okay, if process dev, we're going to return. We can ignore the is pre-rendered thing, and we'll have to get rid of it for somewhere else as well. Okay, so what we want to do is when Nuxt is ready, we're going to do some stuff, but this really shouldn't block our loading, except this probably should block the loading. Okay, so let's figure out what we need. So router is going to be, we can resolve that in advance. And the this prefetching can happen only once Nuxt is ready, so we shouldn't be immediately prefetching everything. And we should be, actually, we could just keep that as it is, because we do need to use the before resolve to block navigation. So, okay, that seems good to me. What we also now need to do is decide what happens when we load the payload. And so what we probably want to do is something is like load app manifest, like this. And load app manifest can probably also live in the payload. Or maybe we create a separate manifest function. Load app manifest, and what this is going to do is const config is use runtime config. We are then going to want to load manifest into memory. Now bear in mind we're only doing this once the app is fully interactive, so this should be a non-blocking thing. So const manifest is await fetch Nuxt builds latest .json. I think that's what we chose, right? And then we are going to let manifest, and basically we're going to set it at that point. Well, that's interesting. So we could say let build ID. It might make sense somehow to encode that, hard code this into our app. So I think we want to do that. Actually, I think we want to say, thank you. I think we want to basically, we have a nuxt config.mjs file here, and we want to encode our build ID. Do we? Or do we just fetch the latest? Let's just fetch the latest for the moment. So we're going to fetch the latest, and that's going to be, so if there's no manifest, hey, I think actually it shouldn't change. So I think we're only going to load it once. So I think we can just say manifest is manifest, or, and I don't think we really need runtime config for this. I think we can to do use build ID injected. Well, why not? Okay, so we can load app manifest, and we can export a async function use get app manifest. It's probably the same thing actually. So I think we just do this. Okay, and we can then use get app manifest here, and in our payload we will use it there as well. So basically we would say something like load payload, and I think what we could do here is basically this. So const manifest is await get app manifest. Oh, I see. Why is this synchronous? It's not. Oh, I see, it can be synchronous. Okay, well we could just move this into import payload instead then. So we're going to pull in the app manifest, and basically if we can skip it. So if manifest.prerendered doesn't include the, oh, I see, this is a pain because actually we do want the URL of the page. Never mind. So what we want to do is here, get app manifest, then manifest. Then okay, we want to do something like this. So if if manifest dot prerendered includes URL and object keys manifest root rules some key. Really, we want a root matcher. We probably don't want a root matcher on client side. So basically what we're looking at is something like this. And we want to find out, should we be pre-rendering this? Like, have we pre-rendered it? So what we want to know is whether this path matches. Okay, so either key is the same as the URL, or key ends with and key replace URL starts with. This is very naive. And in that case, we are going to return the payload. Hey, nice to see you. Both. Raiding. What's this? Craziness. I look away for one moment and 2 raids are happening. This is incredible. Thank you very much for appearing. And in fact, I'm obviously so sort of shy in this that my camera turns off in order to say, an appropriate level of bashfulness. Well, I feel very pleased. Thank you both. So, as I was saying, SST is terrible, and we really need to, find a way to convince those who are, in the cult to, find a way to real freedom. This is not at that level. Now, everybody check out the side project. It's an interesting side project. I'm not sure if there's any users of it, but it's something called SST, which it's something serverless. I think it involves servers. It's servers on AWS, something like that. I don't know. Just use Vercel. That's the answer, right? Sorry if you don't know what I'm talking about, you feel free to completely ignore everything I just said. But welcome. TypeScript is definitely something I'm a fan of. So I hope that's and Josh. I'm also a fan of Joshua. Right. Okay. So what are we doing? What am I even doing? I'm lost. I'm lost in the world of what is happening. So I think we do need to confirm that we should basically skip loading payload. So what we're doing basically here is creating an app manifest for Nuxt, so that we have a way of knowing things like, should we be fetching payloads, like pre-rendered payloads for this route before we navigate to it. And at the moment, it's a sort of all or nothing, but we want to enable this so it works on a hybrid basis. Oh, and by the way, thank you so much, Brocard. That's really nice. And now they can't get away. There's sort of that will have to come back. Okay, so what we're trying to do, we've got our cache URL. We're pre-rendering it. Let's just fire this up in the playground so we actually can see that it's working. So we would want to do something like const data would just actually, data is use async data. Weirdly is not being auto-imported, but there we go. We're going to return some stuff. So math, random, a couple of random values, okay. And what we want to do is pre-render a couple of pages. And so if we were to generate this, let's say, where do we use load payload? We use it here. There's no payload to be returned. Excellent. So we want to return cache payload URL equals null. So in this way, we can probably cache the fact that we don't have a payload. So we would do something like, oh, I vanished again. We would do something like this. Okay, so basically, now this could be going terribly wrong at this point. So I'm going to try generating the playground, and we'll see if it in fact does successfully preload the roots. Because I've changed a lot all at once. So this is the kind of thing where things do go wrong. Okay. So, right. Oh, I blocked a request. Unblock. And I have no links, so I can't actually test this at all. Let's add some links. Nuxt link to test. What else did I pre-render? Other non-pre-rendered. We have an admin route. Something new. And we'll have a button as well that's just going to navigate us to some random thing that we definitely haven't pre-rendered or could predict from. Okay. It is. It's what I built in the earlier part of the stream. I say I built. In fact, the code was generated by like the thing was drawn by Alex Chopin, so all credit to him. But yes, we put together loading SPA loading indicator support in the previous part of the stream. Okay, got some tests. Yeah, okay, we couldn't load admin payload. Which this is what we're trying to prevent. We're trying to prevent trying to fetch it at all. So why did we try and fetch it? So here, well, let's have a look at our manifest. What is telling us that it's okay to fetch this payload? Where does that work? So we should be grabbing our manifest here, and we should know. Okay, so if manifest pre-rendered includes URL, so if it doesn't, and oh no, if it does, so if it includes the URL, or if the object keys, that feels better. I think it was just an always true condition. Let's try this again. Right, so beautiful. Okay, so we're not fetching the request for the page that wasn't pre-rendered. That's fine. It's just generating something in the browser. It's actually a bit difficult to tell because we don't have any, we're not displaying this. So let's just display some data. Right. But I think it's working fine. I think this is exactly what we wanted. Let's see. Right. Okay, so we've got some static. Oh, we probably need to do something like use a key to stop it from. Reloading it every time. Do I do all my... Hey! Oh, to goodness me. Well, I'm very glad I didn't say anything, you know, about TypeScript that might be sort of deeply wrong. And no, I very much don't mind if you raised an issue on my README. Is the README that says, hey there, or hi there. I don't do all my work over SSH, but I do it because I think I have an issue with memory or something on my system. And whenever I stream, like my VS Code grinds to a halt. So for that reason, I'm doing it on a remote machine. There you go. It's probably, I just need to figure out how not to do that. Okay, great. So these are all pre-rendered payloads, and you can see them working, except not all of them are. So this one here, test, is not pre-rendered, I think. So that should fully regenerate every time. But the others, wait a second. I think it's working in the opposite way to the one I want. 4, 5, or is it right? No, it's... Okay, so something new. What even is happening here? I'm curious about this README. You raised an issue on my README. An issue. A lack of information. Yes, that is a fair point. There is not a lot of information here. I will do my best to add something. Okay, so we have, right, I've clearly, my logic isn't right here. I've written some stuff and it's clearly not clear enough. So, oh, I think I'm missing a bracket. I feel like this, like, do you know the feeling when, you know, you're in a horror film and someone just sort of wanders off and you think that person is definitely going to get eaten? Like, I feel like at this moment, I am about to get eaten. Like, I feel like if I were to blindly take the bait, oh, yes, the Primogen. Oh, what does he know about... At this point, an enormous rust-related crab would come and eat me, like on screen. That would happen. Because, yeah. Either that or, you know, secretly you are the alt of the Primogen. Because... Okay, right. So if we have the URL... I think I was probably trying to early return. Okay. Some key... Oh no, this is a single test. I don't know what you mean by saying he doesn't know anything about programming. I think he's quite a good programmer. Okay, so what are we testing? We're testing for some key either being the URL that we are at or ending with, oh, this is the thing I needed to wrap. Or ending with, like, this condition, like performance-wise, we dramatically need to fix that, because that's just not very nice. But I avoided the trap. Absolutely, basically, Mick Pizza, Omar, that, like, I was very nearly, like, here I was, innocently streaming, and then this happens. It's a trap. I mean, you might not have intended it as a trap, but I feel it was a trap. Like it could have been. Okay, test is really. Okay, so admin is fine. That was not pre-rendered. And therefore it is right that it is, what is going on? It's right that it is it's regenerating. This is the thing that desperately needs me to write a unit test for that. So that's right, there's no payload for that. test, there is a payload for. So that shouldn't be changing. And it's unclear to me why it is. It's totally fine. If you're coming from a different background, that is an interesting question. Yeah, where did it come from? Where did the name appear? Like it's totally fine if that's not your bag, you know. If you're not into. So why is test? Oh, and for goodness sake, we shouldn't be loading 5 of them. Use a single promise. I still don't understand what's going on, and I feel my logic, it must be wrong here. So let's just have a quick check. So and again, this shouldn't be too difficult. It's true, he does like pizza. Actually, pizza is something that I had a Latin teacher in school who was amazing. Basically, we would meet up and half of the classes were in Pizza Hut. And we would get these big pizzas, like we would fill the tables with pizza. And we would like just like read and eat. And it was so nice. What do you mean by, well, all right, we should be console logging some stuff, right? Okay, so here we are on test. Oh, that's terrible. Terrible logging. URL. Pizza talk. It's totally fine to have your own preference and point of view. Like there's an enormous space of legitimate discourse for like opinions and points of view. And when it doesn't get into mudslinging or stuff that's negative about people. Okay, false. So it's not in the URL and there are no root rules covering it. But it should be. Okay, so there's nothing actually wrong here. The issue is that test should be in the we should have generated something in the TypeScript file for it. So why didn't we? So because we generated it. So let's see. It's a good thing it's so fast to build. Okay, so we pre-rendered those, but we also pre-rendered test. Why didn't it show up? So it ends with a payload suffix, right? And rules. What is the Nuxt config? Okay. No. So there is something the matter with our test here. So key ends with that, and URL starts with... Okay, what is... This is just a very basic JavaScript thing. Okay, so we have this key, and the URL we're in. Oh, I see. It's because it's this exactly. So I think what we have to do is this. So we do want to test for the existence of the divider. Collab with Antfu. That would be so fantastic, wouldn't it? Anthony is a delight to work with. Okay, so we should now always have, yeah, there we go, okay. So that is now what I would expect. That's refreshing it. The other ones are holding their values. All good. Okay, so I'm not going to build unit tests on this stream, but they will have to happen. Okay, so let's see. We can have... this as a first step, and we can move the logs. Oh, and this should not have been removed. Not sure about that. Okay. Okay, so that is accurately doing stuff with preloads. I do think it's super important, like inside jokes in general. I'm not talking about thing, but like it's so much fun when you are on the inside, but like you just have to be really, really careful because they can also be quite excluding. Right. McDonald's pizza. Do you know, actually one of my favorite sort of food, like, do you remember the little pan pizzas? They used to have pan pizzas. And my age is such, so in the US, there was something called, I think there was a book week or something like that. And I think by reading a certain number of books, you could get free pan pizzas at Pizza Hut. And it was amazing because I loved reading. So I was like happy because I was being rewarded for doing something I absolutely wanted to do anyway. But that was pretty cool. McDonald's has got a lot better though. I think McDonald's is totally a lot better. So now I think you can go to McDonald's and actually order something and it's not a sort of smushed thing in a little wrapper. It's like in a box. It has fresh lettuce. You know, it looks like something that would be good for you even. But it's true. Good pizza, like it's all in, like it's in the crust and in the bread, and like there is a... Now this is going to negatively impact our build, our bundle size, I think. Let's just see what the damage is. So this is going to basically pull in all the payload utils into the build, even when it wasn't pre-rendered. So we now have an increase in what, 1.5 kilobytes. So, oh, but that's only on the server, interestingly. It doesn't change the client size. That's fine. It's not 1.5 kilobytes in server in client. It's 1.5 kilobytes in server bundle size, which is a totally different thing, I think. But maybe you disagree. We can always make it disableable. Okay, this was the main blocker in turning on payload render payload extraction. So I think we can now set this to true. And we can now remove this. Oh, but we can actually use this to remove some of the code that we did add, because it is only relevant if we are extracting payloads. Okay, we can fix that. Oh, you can't say you're eating pizza. Now I'm hungry. I would very much like some pizza. Ah, shower orange. So if you, is anyone familiar with the concept of a shower orange? Because it is an amazing concept. Yeah, Joshua and I are totally on the same page with regard to shower oranges. But I had never heard of it before someone mentioned it. And there was in fact a subreddit entirely devoted to the concept of shower oranges and people sharing their shower orange stories. So here is a shower orange. If you are unaware what a shower orange is, shower oranges are oranges eaten in the shower. And before you say, what a silly idea, consider, is that not the perfect place for eating an orange? So juice that might, I don't know, get on your shirt or go down your chin or whatever, you don't need to worry about. You can go into that orange, you can devour that thing, it doesn't matter, you're in the shower. Apply it to any fruit, watermelon, plum, peach more than anything else, I think, more than an orange, a peach. Oh, it can get everywhere. I mean, and if you're opening an orange, you're peeling it, you get, there's orange all over your fingers, not in the shower. In the shower, you can have guilt-free eating of fruit and potatoes. John, what is this? Potatoes in the shower? I don't think I could do that. I think I would need them to be cooked in some way. I don't think I could just absolutely. If you're going to eat it, then the shower is the place, totally the place to do it. Now, isn't that, honestly, had anyone here not encountered shower oranges before? Because I had never encountered the concept. But as soon as it was said, I thought, this is absolutely right. Like, this is totally a good idea. An idea whose time has come. So I should probably continue in some way coding. But I think there is something in this. Okay, so we can extract. Haha, absolutely. I somehow want to avoid. Okay, Nuxt config. We can avoid putting in our So we can import payload extraction here. And wrap stuff in. Okay. And we can do the same with our other utilities here. It's fine. I think none of these would be used, but just in case. Okay. Shouldn't make any difference to our bundle because it will be enabled by default, but it will make a difference if someone wants to turn this off. Then it won't be included in the bundle for them. I'll test it in a second. Oh, it did make a difference. Probably increased because we... Oh, at last it's increased the client side. Well, I guess that makes sense. Not sure I didn't update before. Okay. There's more to be done there, but it could be a starting point, I think, for hello. Thank you. Okay, so one issue is that this is actually not entirely the path we want to fetch. So we do need to confirm that this is right, like this. There we go. Oh, and I think I need to lint it as well. But anyway, let's finish this. And uses it to determine whether to preload, to load a payload. Soon we will respect redirect rules within router middleware. Okay. And this is going to be a draft. There's a lot more to do on this. Okay. There we go. Right. I think that is enough for today. And I never got to Nitro static. Maybe I'll do some more tomorrow. But basically Nitro static presets are something we shipped in the last version of Nitro. A couple of bug fixes are being implemented at the moment. I think just merged upstream. And so we can prepare Nuxt for static builds. Things like you can run Nuxt generate but have support for Nitro redirects, for Vercel redirects or Netlify redirects, and output the right format, so it can do some cool stuff. So almost certainly I will stream tomorrow at about the same time. So that's probably my next one. And yeah, hope to see some of you there. But it's been a lot of fun today. Thank you for coming along and keeping me company. And yeah, have a good day.